Once again, it's on. You know what time it is. It's time to play some toss. Welcome to episode 114 and the 7th anniversary show of Toss, the Tristain Sports Show. Yes, it is your main man, T-Square, Tristain Thomas. Thank you so very much for joining us. 7 years. Incredible. This week, we've got to talk Green Bay Packers. They didn't exactly show up for week one action. You know we got to talk about it. That's pretty much what the state of the state is going to be. Yeah, I got words. In the toss sweep, we go over our predictions for the WNBA Semifinals and talk about the finals matchup, which is already underway. And we also got to talk about some lighter than a feather punishment for an NBA and WNBA team owner. But you all know how we get things started here on Toss. We get things started with the state of the state. At least we typically do. As I mentioned just a few seconds ago, it is the 7th anniversary of Toss. It was actually September 12th, 2015. The first episode was released. September 12th, 2022, the 7th year anniversary, 114 episodes deep, and the content that has branched off from this, the very fact that Toss Nation Media was created off of this podcast, the very fact that we now have Quick Toss, our weekly Packers prediction show. We have Tossed Up, which we talk about some serious topics. We have the Toss blog, which we drop very consistently, especially during Packer season. It's incredible how one event led to another, which led to another, which led to another. We're 7 years deep, and I have not lost the passion for this. I've fallen in love with it even more, and have you to thank for it, because you continue to rock with us. Whether you're in India, whether you're in Africa, whether you're in Canada, whether you're in Ireland, whether you're in the UK, whether you're right here in Wisconsin, or right here in the US of A. You rock with your man. You rock with your main man, and I cannot thank you all enough. 7 years, let's keep it going. All right, let's get on to state of the state here on Toss. Let's make a quick stop with the Brewers. 76 and 66, they are still 2 games back of the final NL wild card. That's behind San Diego. They've made up a half game since the last time I spoke with you. They started a huge series with the Cardinals just last night, got the win. And this is a huge series. I basically said on our Toss Facebook page, you can find us, facebook.com/TOnSportsShow, that this was the season. If they go in and get swept, if they go in and they don't win this series against the Cardinals, the outlook is looking dire. It's looking bleak. You need to put together sweeps if you can, but you need to put together series wins because, just until the other night, San Diego was on a losing streak, 2 games. You're on a winning streak. Now it's at 3 games. You need to make up that ground somehow. And the only way you're going to do that is with winning ball games, especially in series like these against the division rival who overtook you for the division lead, and now you're fighting for your playoff life, trying to get that wild card. We'll see if the Brewers can pull it off. They've had some September magic under Craig Counsell. They're going to need every bit of it. We've said it before. They're going to need to muster every bit of that magic in September. They have a Craig Counsell, but time is definitely not on your side. You need to win ball games. You need to win them now. So 2 games back. They've got a shot. Their series with the St. Louis Cardinals continues tonight as we record this podcast on a Wednesday morning. You got work to do, and you need to do it now. All right, so let's get to the meat and potatoes of the state and the state here on Toss. The Green Bay Packers had their first game, week 1 action against the Vikings at Minnesota. And it's almost like they didn't bother to show up. They lost 23-7 to the Vikings. Justin Jefferson just did whatever the hell he wanted. 9 catches, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, I will give some credit to the Packers because it wasn't all bad. We'll talk about that. But there's just this tiny note. In the second half, Justin Jefferson only went for 3 catches, 26 yards. That's it. 3 catches, 26 yards in the second half. He did all of his damage in the first half, but that was enough. That was enough. Let's talk about the bad. Let's get that out of the way. On your first offensive play of the 2022 regular NFL season, you got rookie wide receiver Christian Watson on the outside. You get good protection. And by the way, if you didn't know, now you will. They were without their 2 starting tackles in Jenkins and Bakhtiari. So you got your backup tackles in there. You knew they were going to be tested, especially with Zadarius back there. I mean, you knew they were going to be tested. Zadarius wanting to have that big game against his former team. He felt he had been done wrong. You knew he was going to try to come in there and wreck shop. You knew that was going to happen. But you got excellent protection. Excellent protection from that offensive line on the first snap. Rodgers had a clean pocket. Steps up into it. Throws a perfect deep ball. As we all know him to do. He is a great deep ball thrower. Excellent deep ball thrown by Aaron Rodgers. Christian Watson runs a route, double move, makes one of the better corners in the last 10 years in Patrick Peterson look like an absolute fool. Absolutely smokes him on a double move. He's all by himself. There was nobody within 3 yards of him. All that's left to do is for you to catch the ball, run into the end zone. And he drops it. You had a chance to answer the touchdown on the Vikings opening drive to tie that ball game, and you're talking about this is a completely different ball game if Watson holds on to that ball. If he catches that ball, crosses that goal line for a 75-yard touchdown on the first offensive play. Do you know what that does for an offense when you could go and get an explosive play like that on the very first play? As an offense, even with 2 backup tackles in there, you feel like, and rookie wide receivers, you talk about Dobbs, a rookie. You talk about Watson, a rookie. You talk about Randall Cobb, who's in his 12th year. You talk about Sammy Watkins, who has won a championship but has been off injured. A mix of young, a mix of experienced. Do you know what that does to the confidence of a team when they're able to go out there and match your drive on one play? Match your score on one play? It does wonders for your confidence. But on the flip side, and this is what I felt happened, and I spoke about that on the Toss blog. You can read that at tossnationmedia.com. I mentioned that when Watson dropped that pass that would have went for 75 yards and a score to match the Vikings' score, it deflated the Packers. The confidence was absolutely deflated, stolen, gone, shattered. And after that, it was mental mistake after mental mistake after mental mistake after mental mistake. Aaron Rodgers spoke about it. Now, I will say this. Again, you got to mix the bad with the good because it wasn't all bad. Christian Watson did go, and he took full responsibility for dropping that pass. Here he is speaking about it after the game.
I'm going to make, 99 times out of 100. I would have said 100 out of 100 if it weren't for today. But I mean, it's just a play that I know I can make. And going forward, I'm going to make that play every single time. So, I just got to, understand that I know what I'm capable of, and I know what the standard is, and I'm going to, uphold that from here on out.
That was rookie wide receiver Christian Watson talking about that. Really, would end up being a devastating drop in that game. That really just took away all the confidence for the Packers in my eyes. When that doesn't go right, then it's like, oh, shoot. We had a shot to tie this game, and now the defense is starting to get after our backup tackles. I mean, what do we do? I mean, this is not going to work. And it's not like they haven't had confidence issues before. They very much have. Robert Tonyan said it in an interview on a podcast just last month, I believe. He spoke about how they would get up and then they would be lackadaisical and play to the level of their competition. Other teams would be able to make comebacks, and we talk about the season prior, and that's exactly what happened. This team has struggled with confidence before. Aaron Rodgers was not deterred by that drop, although the clip that they kept playing of him on the sideline, kind of pointing his fingers, and you can see him speaking very vehemently, would tell you otherwise. But after the game, in the press conference, this is his quote from Aaron Rodgers. He said, quote, "We got to have patience with those guys. They're young. There's going to be drops. Hate to see it on the first play, but there's going to be drops," end quote. And yeah, he's absolutely correct. There's going to be drops. Some of the best wide receivers in Packers history have dealt with drops. Devontae Adams, Jordy Nelson, James Jones. Those guys all dealt with drops. Those guys were young guys, and they dealt with drops, and then they got it together. When you're inserting young players, especially young wide receivers, you have to deal with the good and the bad. The good, they could go out there and be explosive. Christian Watson, for the rest of the game, showed his ability to separate from from defenders. 2 catches, 34 yards overall. Would have been well over 100 and a touchdown had he caught that first play of the game. But you have to like what you saw from him the rest of the game. Romeo Doubs, he also had drops. He went on to get 4 receptions for 37 yards. Aaron Rodgers is absolutely correct. You're going to have to deal with some of those drops with those young guys. You have to be patient. But at the same time, we saw Rodgers kind of shy away from them at times. Again, yes, I know both of them combined had 6 catches, over 60 yards. But he kind of shied away and went to the guys that he knew best. You're talking Tonyan, and you're talking Randall Cobb, guys like that. So he kind of has to practice what he preaches. Like, yeah, there's going to be drops. Okay, well, you have to give them guys confidence. They're young. You have to give them confidence and go back to them. But also, I understand the fact that, look, we're trying to win games. If you guys aren't going to hold on to the football, if you guys aren't going to catch the football, look at it in your hands, and do what we all know you can do, I'm going to have to go to players who I know can do it and have done it with me before. So that's going to be an interesting watch all year long. The whole league knows it. They're going to play for it. So after that drop, that really pretty much demoralized the Packers, there's still a whole hell of a lot of game to go. You have to find your way back into it. Packers went into the half down 17-0. Came back with a little bit more fire in the second half. A.J. Dillon with the only score that they had. But that's also a problem. There was not enough opportunity for the running backs. And that had nothing to do with game script. You were not down that far. The final score was 23-7. You were down at the half 17-0. That's not that large of a lead at all. Matt LaFleur decided to not go to the running backs enough, both running the football and catching the football. If Rodgers doesn't have the confidence that he needs to, in those young wide receivers. Go to two other guys that you know can receive the football. A.J. Dillon, Aaron Jones. And he did do that to a certain extent. Let's look at the stats for the running backs. Aaron Jones, 5 carries, 49 yards. 3 receptions for 27 yards. He had 8 touches. That is unacceptable. Head coach Matt LaFleur came out in his Monday press conference and said exactly the same thing. That's unacceptable. We need to get those guys more touches. I felt like Mike McCarthy was back on the sidelines with the way he treated Aaron Jones. A.J. Dillon, 10 carries for 45 yards, 5 catches for another 46 yards. He had 15 touches for 91 yards and that touchdown, the lone touchdown the Packers scored. He did get stuffed at the goal line on a goal line stand by the Vikings. And again, you have to give their defense credit. But you also have to look at the line. As I said before, you're missing your starting tackles, an all-pro and a Pro Bowler. You had to know that pressure was coming. You had to know that they're going to be crashing the edges and trying to get after Rodgers and trying to stop everything you do. And they, for the most part, did that. But the production in the run game, I thought, warranted more than just 15 carries between the two backs. Watson got a carry. Dobbs got a carry. The running game would have been a lot more productive had Matt LaFleur decided to stick with it. Outside of that stuff at the goal line, the Vikings really didn't do much to slow down that run game. The way this team is built, especially with young wide receivers, it's built to run the football. Now, obviously, the line play is going to be an issue here as long as you're missing your 2 starting tackles. And now you have John Runyon with a concussion. You don't know if he's going to be available week 2, home opener against Chicago. So now you have even more issues. But if you could get Jenkins back or Bakhtiari, ideally you love to have both of them back. It's going to improve your line play. If you get one of them back, it's going to improve your line play. But the Vikings were able to take advantage of that. But they really did not significantly stop the run game. And even in the passing game, they weren't able to really bottle up these backs. You have to give them more opportunity. This team is built to run the football and play good defense. Defense had a rough day. We will get to them in a second. But I felt the run game was productive enough. These backs were productive enough, running and catching the football, that it warranted more than 15 touches between the two of them. If you're going to do anything significant this year, they have to be a focal point. It has to start with the run game. It has to. That is the way this team is constructed. It has to start with those 2 backs. You have to give them more than 15 touches combined, especially Aaron Jones. 8 touches, I'm still flabbergasted by that. Just absolutely unacceptable. Defense looked lost and confused. I felt that they came in with absolutely no plan to stop Justin Jefferson whatsoever. You put Jair Alexander on him for 1 play, and that was it. And that didn't happen until the 3rd quarter. Now LaFleur comes out, and he's already trying to back up his coaches like a good head coach does. It says, well, if you want Jair to follow Justin Jefferson, then you have to be in man coverage all the time. Come on. I mean, you have to do something different than stay in zone, which is exactly what you played. Now, Jair did his job. He pretty much shut down Adam Thielen, who he was on predominantly because he was in his zone. Jair came out basically, and I'm paraphrasing, saying that, hey, you know what I wanted to do, but it ain't about me, it's about the team. Yeah, I know what you want to do, and it's exactly what I want you to do, and a lot of other people want you to do. You're the highest paid cornerback in the NFL. You got there because you're able to shut down any and everybody that's in front of you. It is a problem when your coordinator, Joe Barry, does not understand the abilities of his personnel. That's a big problem. You let a top 5, possibly top 3 wide receiver just roam free and get whatever the hell he wanted until the second half, when you pretty much bottled him up for 3 for 25 or 26 yards. But it was too late at that point. The damage had already been done. I thought they did a pretty decent job against the run. You didn't really hear too much about Dalvin Cook and others. Like I said, John Money shut down Adam Thielen. You didn't hear his name too often. Justin Jefferson and it definitely did all the heavy lifting, and Kirk Cousins was a beneficiary of it. The fact the defense couldn't really put pressure on Cousins, the fact that you couldn't force him into mistakes because you're playing zone. I mean, it was a rough first week. It was a rough performance. You got to come in and have a better game plan than that for these top wide receivers, for these top offensive weapons, period. Because that wasn't it. The preparation, the execution, the confidence must be better, and it must be high. The confidence must be high, and it must stay high. Playing well cures all those ails. Winning cures all those ails. You have your first Sunday night ball game coming up on Sunday. As I mentioned before, the home opener, the not-so-frozen tundra of Lambeau Field. The oldest rivalry in the NFL continues against the Bears, who won their game against the Niners. Did something you haven't been able to do in the playoffs, at least. But they shocked the Niners. They're going to come in with a lot of confidence. It's already a rivalry. You have to come out and play much better. You have to come out with much more confidence that you're going to be able to go out there and get whatever you want and do whatever you want. This team is too good to have a performance like that. I think they will come out much better. But if you want my prediction on who wins that ball game, you can tune in to YouTube. That's Team Truth 12. Or our Facebook page, facebook.com/TOnSportsShow, for the week 2 episode of Packers Quick Toss. You figure out my prediction then. And that's the state of the state. The Brewers hanging on barely by a thread. 2 games back of San Diego for that final NL wild card in a huge series against the Cardinals. They won last night. Can they get the sweep in a vital series? And the Green Bay Packers, they did not come out very well the other night or Sunday afternoon. Lost confidence after Christian Watson dropped the 75-yard touchdown pass. Did not have a plan to stop Justin Jefferson. Did not get the running backs enough touches. But I think they'll come out with a far better performance against the Bears this Sunday in the home opener, Sunday Night Football. It's time for us to run the tall sweep. TossNationMedia.com, your home for the Toss brand of sports. Truthful, opinionated, passionate sports. It's what you deserve. You know, I come from an age where if you do something wrong, it warrants two things: an apology or appropriate consequences for your actions. And in this situation, neither happened. What exactly am I talking about? I'm talking about the NBA's investigation into Robert Sarver, owner of the Phoenix Suns, as well as the Phoenix Mercury of the WNBA. They launched an investigation to him into the workplace environment because there have been stories about how he used the N-word inappropriately. If you ain't black, you ain't really supposed to be using that word. I don't care who you are. Workplace misogyny and inappropriate situations with employees, both men and women. Just a sour, dire, disgusting workplace to be a part of. They launched their investigation, they finished their investigation, and they levied down punishment. And I'm using air quotes when I say punishment, because the punishment they handed down really ain't punishment at all, given all the findings of their investigation. Now, here's some of the findings, and this is from Baxter Holmes, who's a ESPN.com writer, who's been following this story, who's been following the investigation. And it goes, Mr. Sarver is suspended from the Suns and Mercury organization for a period of 1 year, during which time he will not, and that's from the NBA, he was suspended for a year and fined $10 million. That's not punishment. But this is some of the findings that they found within his investigation. Among the key findings, Mr. Sarver, on at least 5 occasions during his tenure with the Suns and Mercury organization, repeated the N-word when recounting the statements of others. Mr. Sarver engaged in instances of inequitable conduct toward female employees, made many sex-related comments in the workplace, made inappropriate comments about the physical appearance of female employees and other women, and on several occasions engaged in inappropriate physical conduct toward male employees. Mr. Sarver engaged in demeaning and harsh treatment of employees, including by yelling and cursing at them. So basically, he won't be able to be present at any NBA or WNBA facility for a year. That includes offices, arenas, practice facilities. He won't be able to attend any NBA or WNBA events or activities or games or practices, business partner activity, owners' meetings, none of that. He's not going to be able to represent the Suns or the Mercury in any private or public equity. He may not have any involvement with the business operations of the Suns or Mercury whatsoever. They're in the process of trying to find a governor to sit in for him while he serves this 1 year suspension. Apparently, he must also, I'll bring this up here, apologize. Mr. Sarver must, during his suspension, complete a training program focused on respect and appropriate conduct in the workplace. Additionally, the Suns and Mercury organization must fulfill a series of requirements for workplace improvements set forth and monitored by the NBA. These requirements, among other things, include retaining an outside firm to evaluate and make recommendations with respect to the workplace training programs, policies, and procedures, and hiring and compensation practices, with a focus on fostering a diverse, inclusive, and respectful workplace. Conducting regular and anonymous workplace culture surveys and responding to survey results with specific action plans. Immediately reporting to the league any instances or allegations of significant misconduct by any employee for a period of 3 years, providing the league with regular reports related to steps taken by the organization to address these requirements, and following league direction for remediation, improvement of workplace issues if as they arise. So basically, they're going to be monitored. Basically, he got suspended for a year. The $10 million fine is going to go to multiple charities that bolster inclusivity. And, it really just feels like the NBA dropped the ball. This conduct wasn't like something that happened over the matter of a couple of months. This dates back way back to like the mid 2000s. Let that marinate for a minute. There is a long history of this conduct. And you say, oh, well, you know what? You're suspended for a year, and here's a $10 million fine to a guy that's a billionaire. Oh, you're going to have all these programs. You have to complete this training. And we're going to have a hall monitor and monitor you and make sure you're doing what you need to be doing for the next 3 years. This was hardly punishment. This is hardly punishment. And I use punishment with air quotes. Donald Sterling had to sell his team for doing something that was just absolutely despicable. Now, you got a lot of people, whenever that's brought up, with their comments of, oh, well, he said something in his private home. No. There were other actions that went along with that have been documented. But he was forced to sell the team. This conduct is just as bad, if not worse. And you suspend him for a year and make him pay a $10,000 fine and put him through training. And the franchises are going to be monitored for 3 years to make sure that the workplace is one that is worth being in, that nobody has to have any anxiety about going into it. And everybody does that. Nobody's going to be harassed or face racism. This punishment was lighter than a cup. It's not punishment at all. What does this say to the employees that had to endure this? I don't agree with it. I don't like it. Robert Sarver got away with this, basically. Suspension for a year, $10 million fine, go to these training classes on how to act in the workplace. That's a slap on the wrist. That's all it was. I just don't agree with what the NBA did. They found all this. It's patterned behavior. This has been going on for years. And you choose to give them a slap on the wrist. I don't know why you would want someone like that within the owner's ranks. That's telling every other owner, and I'm not saying every owner is going to be the same way and have the same kind of environment and do the same things that Robert Sarver did. But that's telling them, hey, if I get into this type of a situation, precedence has been set. I'm just going to get a fine and suspended for a year. Have to go through these training courses and everything will be fine. I'll be back after a year and I'm still making that NBA money. I still own WNBA and the NBA team. I'm still the man. It's disgusting. I feel for those employees who were hoping something much more befitting of his actions would happen. But unfortunately, it didn't. And the NBA definitely dropped the ball on this one. All right, let's wash our mouths out. Let's get clean from that bit of dirty business there. It just angers my blood. Let's bring it down. Let's take a deep breath. And let's move on here in the Tall Sweep. And let's go to the WNBA Semifinals predictions here that I had. Semifinals are over. The WNBA Finals are underway. But let's go back to the semifinals. Now, the 1-seeded Aces going up against a 4-seeded Storm. I said the Aces would win that one, and I was correct. I just felt that with the now 2-time WNBA MVP, A'ja Wilson, congratulations to her. Also, congratulations to all the aces that won awards. Jackie Young, most improved player. Her three-point shot just improved significantly. And it's helped the aces get to where they are today. Becky Hammon, coach of the year, obviously. I mean, that was a no-brainer. Kelsey Plum getting some MVP awards. She was already the All-Star Game MVP. That Aces squad is really, really, really good. Probably the best squad they've had. I mean, possibly ever. I mean, even better than that squad that went to the WNBA Finals a couple seasons ago that ended up getting swept by the Storm. So a little bit of sweet revenge for the Aces there. So I said the Aces would win that series, and they did. The 2-seeded Chicago Sky, who were the defending champions, going up against the 3-seeded Connecticut Sun. The Sun won that series. I got that one incorrect. I said the Sky would win that series. It went the distance, went all 5. And in a shocking turn of events, I believe it was a 24-6 run by the Sun. They end up knocking out the defending champions, knocking out the Sky. They advanced to the finals, and they finally got over that hump. They've been right on the cusp, and such good teams, and now they finally got over that hump. But now you're in the WNBA Finals, and they've already played 2 games. And the Aces are up 2-0. The Sun are just not connecting on shots. DeWanna Bonner is having a nightmarish season. Hitting shots, or not season, but nightmarish series, hitting shots. They're not able to get transitional points, which they were one of the top teams. I believe the top team in transition scoring. They're not able to figure things out defensively, and this is a really good defensive ball club, the Sun are. But then on the flip side, with the Aces, Asia Wilson, who's also the Defensive Player of the Year, add another award to what the Aces did. And I said the Aces would be all over that board winning those awards, and they were. She's out there getting steals. She's out there blocking the basketball. You got De'Erica Hamby back from that bruised knee. She's out there contributing defensively, rebounding. Kelsey Plum getting into high gear. Chelsea Gray, the point guard. She's doing her thing. They're moving the basketball. Becky Hammon from that Greg Popovich system. You can see the influence right in there. Greg Popovich was at the game last night. Spoke with the Aces in the locker room after the game. They're now up 2-0 in the series. And I said it before the season even began. Y'all know Las Vegas is a second home to me. Love Vegas. That's really my squad. And I picked them. They have such a good squad. Becky Hammon was going to be the piece that puts them over the top with that ball movement. And they were going to win. I said that before the season started, and I'm sticking with it. And I'm not just saying that here on Toss because they're up 2-0. I said this before the season started that the Aces were going to win a championship. And I'm sticking with it. They're up 2-0. They have a chance to win their very first WNBA championship on Thursday night. That really should be a good game, but I don't think the Sun are going to go down without a fight. We saw the fight that they came back and forced a Game 5 with against the defending champions. The Sun ain't scared, and now you're going to Connecticut. They're going back home. Their fans are going to be ruckus. This is not going to be an easy closeout for the Aces, but I still got them winning the WNBA Finals and winning their very first WNBA championship. Well, y'all, that'll do it for me. It's episode 114 of Toss. You know where to find me. At the20double on both Twitter and Instagram. Follow me there. Facebook.com/T-On Sports Show. That's T-O-N Sports Show. Touching on a lot of things there that we don't get a chance to here on this program. That's Facebook.com TON Sports Show. That's TON Sports Show. And of course, TossNationMedia.com. Your home for the Toss brand of sports. Truthful, opinionated, passionate sports. It's what you deserve. But as I said before, it's time for me to get on up out of here. This is T Squared, Tristan Thomas, reminding all of you to keep it moving forward. Always forward. Forward always. Until next week. So long from Toss.